I mean, that's how we got to start the show, right, Mick? Just two in a row that it felt like the Chicago Cubs had controlled throughout the entire game. The offense had some chances to get some runs on the board early. They didn't get runs across and just spoiled brilliant starts from Jordan Wicks or not Jordan Wicks in the last game, but Javier Assad in this one today. Brilliant. Could he have finished the game? That's what we're talking about. We're getting into it. But first things first, like and subscribe. Join our channel. It's very simple. Mick's going to show you how to do it right now. All right, so there's your little masterclass. And while we're on the topic of a masterclass, Javier Assad was just that today. About a month and a half ago, when he first entered the rotation, we wondered, is this someone that could go 5-6 innings on a consistent basis? Could they stretch him the distance? And by distance, I just meant quality starts. And today, it got to the point where he was at 98 pitches after 8 innings, and we are both in agreement. Why don't you roll the dice and throw him back out there?
I mean, that's the way that the game's played now, right? You pitch 8 innings, you throw 98 pitches, and you're going to the bullpen. The problem is that the Cubs have burnt up their bullpen with starts where guys, didn't go 7-8 innings, and you've had to use all of your high leverage guys. I talked about that yesterday, and I'll talk about it again. There's not a lot of options as far as you got to give Javier Assad a chance in the 9th, right? I mean, I think you got to put him out there, but that's not what happened. Adbert Alzolay actually gave up, the game last night. Merriweather used him last night. Today it was Leiter Jr., who has had trouble throwing strikes here lately and put himself into some bad counts. And just the way that that game went down, it's something that I talked about yesterday, and kind of put you right back into that spot. Is some other guys in the bullpen are going to have to step up because you got 4 guys that you go with: Palencia, Leiter Jr., Mayweather, Alzolay, and then once you get past them, it's kind of a crapshoot. So my question is, what's going to happen? I mean, you have 2 games that you could have won that you didn't. And, the other part of it, you mentioned the bats. You had opportunities, 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. You mustered 1 run, and it was a solo home run. So didn't have a lot of men on base. Obviously, Andrew Abbott's a good pitcher. Got him out of there early enough, though, to try to do some damage. Couldn't do it. And it's really a tough loss for the Cubs. And I think the reason why is that they played such great defense. I mean, and they did a lot of good things in the game. They just didn't win it.
Yeah, that's 2 days in a row where you had a chance to really bury the Cincinnati Reds and put them in the rearview mirror and start focusing on Milwaukee and holding off these teams from the West and the Miami Marlins. And now the Reds are kind of creeping back right into the picture if they can win the game tomorrow. Jeimer Candelario, the lone run for the Cubs in this one, solo shot. And the game of baseball, and really any sport, it's a game of inches. It's a game of a few feet, a few swings, a few pitches. This one came down to 2 plays, really. Nick Madrigal in the top of the 9th inning, I guess, where the Cubs had runners in scoring position and a chance to get one across the plate. That's a bang play at first base. If the game may end a little bit differently if he's 1 step quicker, and Madrigal's quick, so not much you can do there. And then the other play was Dansby Swanson in the bottom of the 9th inning. I know it's a play they lost on, and it sucks, but that was a hell of a play by Dansby Swanson. Had he turned that double play, we're talking play of the year right there. I mean, that's incredible. How can a human being even do that?
Yeah, well, Nico made one that I thought was even better earlier in the game, on the flare to right field and the double play to second base. But the middle infield for the Cubs is fantastic. And if you're a pitcher for them, you got to be really confident to throw strikes and allow the other team to try to put the ball in play. And that's what Javier Assad did so well. And if the Cubs were smart, they would have more guys like Javier Assad that aren't afraid to pitch to contact, because the way that this team's built, they're constructed to make those plays. They've got some of the best defenders in the game, so definitely a tough loss, but it's not because of the defense.
It's unfortunately because of the bullpen for the second straight game. What do you do at this point of the season. If you're the Cubs, there's not a lot you can do. You brought up Shane Green. Aside from him, you don't have many options at the AA or the AAA level that you can potentially bring up. Now, one player that you were talking about earlier that you think may be ready for the big leagues, but he's not going to get called up just from the age and the fact that he's in AA alone is number 2 prospect Cade Horton. Is he someone that could help at the big league level right now, or is that just down the road?
I don't think you can make that move. I think you got to leave him where he's at to continue to figure it out. He's just not ready yet. I mean, I think potentially it's coming probably middle of next year, maybe the beginning of next year. But if you ask me about right now, that's a move that I wouldn't make. He still has some fine tuning with with some of his stuff. And I mean, you take the risk of messing up what potentially could be the ace of your staff down the road. So I don't think he'd be the answer. And maybe there's someone else in AAA that deserves an opportunity. But the way that the bullpen has looked the last couple of nights, it's not necessarily that they're giving the games away. I mean, the Reds have made some big plays as well. But they just look tired. I mean, and I would have liked to have seen Javier Assad come in and try to get the complete game. I mean, I don't think that 100 pitches and your arm falls off. If you get the 98, so what? You got the 98. I mean, we played this game for 100 years, and now all of a sudden we're worried about there's a big glass ceiling at 98. You get to 98, you can't do it anymore. That's one of the reasons I started this show and this channel is because the analytics. Not only does it ruin the game in some aspects, but it ruins nights like this. Would have been great to see the guy get to go out there and try to get the final 3 outs. Even if he would have gotten one, maybe he'd have got the first one, and then all of a sudden, your tired bullpen would only need 2 outs. Or maybe if your starters pitched another inning earlier in the week, that's one less inning that someone else would have had to throw, and they could have used it tonight. So there's and I'm not. Look, I'm not blaming anyone in particular. I know some of you guys, point to David Ross. I don't necessarily think that he has the decision-making on something like that. I think that they lay that out from the top down, and they're probably like, hey, look, that's it. Managers aren't like they used to be where they get to call all the shots and make all the lineups and everything. So I don't know how they do it. They're not going to tell us. But I'm saying don't be surprised if he doesn't have a call to say, hey, man, go back out there and get one more. But in the baseball that I grew up watching, they easily would have been like 98 pitches. Oh, man, you got this.
Yeah, 25 innings of this series has been so promising. And now we're talking about a game 4 in which the Cubs need to win or they lose the series to the Reds. They just took 3 of 4 from Cincinnati the last time they played them. And now in Cincinnati, the Reds are looking to take 3 of 4 from Chicago. And it would be devastating just with the way it's shaped up. Jameson Taillon on the hill today for the Cubbies. Are you liking their chances with him on the mound? I see people in the comments all the time, and this is the only smile I'm going to crack on my face for this show. There's a select few that basically say when Drew Smiley or Jameson Taillon takes the hill to start the game, it's an automatic L. If that's the case, then why are we doing this show? He's looked pretty good for a lot of this year, but lately he's come back down to earth, and a lot of it's the defense hasn't been great behind him.
They lose today's game, it's not the end of the world. But I'd love to see him win. I mean, look, if you split the series, you go on the road, that's kind of what you're supposed to do. If you'd love to win it, but the Reds are a good team, and honestly, the Reds have gotten lucky in these last 2 games, and they've also made some big plays when they've had to, right? So it's not the end of the world. Even if the Cubs lose, they're still going back home. There's a lot of baseball left to be played. They had a cushion, and obviously they're still, if the season ended, in the playoffs. But these are just heart-wrenching losses. You almost feel like you'd rather lose by 7 or 8, just because you don't want that feeling that you're going into the 9th inning with an opportunity to close it out, and you don't get that done. And this has been a team that's won a lot of one-run games this year. They've been one of the best in baseball at it, but the last 2 nights haven't gone their way. So Jameson Taillon, he's been Jekyll and Hyde to me. Every time I'm ready to write him off, all of a sudden he just comes busting out with a great game. And then when I think he's going to be good, he's not. He's terrible. So I don't know what to expect. I just hope that the earned run average looks a lot more like when he was pitching against the Yankees than it did, some of these other starts, including his last start where he gave up 4 runs to the Brewers in the first inning and 6 in the game.
So do we want Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde? I always wonder who was the good one, who was the bad one.
Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde. I think Mr. Hyde was Dr. Jekyll was the good guy, and then Mr. Hyde, I think, was the guy that went. But
I have no idea.
Yeah,
leave it in the
question.
comments. That's a good way to promote the page. Leave it in the comments. Upcoming schedule, Mick. Let's finish on a good note, and hopefully, when we're doing this show tomorrow or later tonight, if we're going to do a post game show, we can recap a win and really a huge stretch, because after this Reds game, you see it's 3 with the Giants, 4 with the Diamondbacks, and if you can take care of business in those 7 games, then Rockies, Diamondbacks, Pirates, and then Rockies again, that's a huge chance entering those last 2 series against good teams and the Braves and the Brewers to be in position to just kind of close it out and split those final 2 series, win 1, lose 1, and be in good position.
Yeah, this is arguably one of the toughest games that the Cubs are going to have to play in the entire month. They always seem to play well in Milwaukee. It's a home game, and there were a lot of Cubs fans in Cincinnati for all the games so far in this series. But these are big games coming up. You'd love to get some momentum. I love the fact, talking about love, that the Monday game's a day game, because that makes it tougher on the Giants, to have to work. The Cubs are just going up from Cincinnati. So just the way that the schedule kind of fell, but a really crucial home series against 2 teams that, started action to yesterday, tied for the final playoff spot. So you're facing both of those teams, and you're doing that at Wrigley Field. So then this is it. The schedule is what it is. I mean, like, there's one game in October against Milwaukee, but the stretch runs here.
This sucks, man. This is a show that thrives on energy. We bring the passion. We have fun. We laugh. But after a game like that, you kind of just – this is what we do. We give it to you real and raw, and this is real and raw. There's not a lot to cheer about right now after the last 2 days where you had excellent starting pitcher and pitching in all 3 games from your starting pitchers, and the bullpen 2 straight days. Can't get it done in the 9th and can't slam the door when they've been nails all season. I mean, Alzolay, who blew it yesterday or 2 days ago, had been money for the last month and a half. I think it was like 23 of the last 24 he had saved before he blew that one. So
and look, the guy made a good swing on his pitch. It's not like he just went out there and walked and hit guys. The guy made a good swing. And that happens.
Credit to Cincinnati, yeah.
The guy, the guy made a good swing, and that's going to happen. But I still feel like you can't get 2 down if you're the Cubs. I mean, you just got to show back up, and you win today, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know what, we won today, we split the series, let's get back home, and we got to take on these teams from the West Coast.
Yeah, you'll take a split. It's not the end of the world. Mick's smiling a little bit. I've been doing my best to put a smile on my face today. If you really want to make us grin, you really want to see us show the teeth, you give us that like, toss us the subscribe. We'll give you plenty more content. And hopefully next time we do this, the energy will be there, because we're still thinking it's going to be a blue and white October. And hopefully an October baseball game or 2 or 3 or maybe even 5 at Wrigley Field come October. So the momentum, Big Mo as we call it, they can pick it back up today with a win and then head back home. For Mick Gillispie, Chuck Walter, this is the Cubs Baseball Channel. See you next time.